Second method we're looking at for solving simultaneous equations. Remember, again, simultaneous equations, you've got two different unknowns. For example, here I've got h and g. Because you've got two unknowns, you need two equations to solve. If I had three unknowns, I need three equations to solve. And they do that in mathematics, year 11, all right? So two unknowns, you must have two equations to solve, and I do. So this second method is called the elimination method. And using this method, what we do, we either add the two equations together or we subtract the two equations from each other. And by doing that, we will eliminate or delete or get rid of one of the variables. Now, what you do, you have your two equations. I'll call this equation 1 and I'll call this equation 2. Can you see anything identical in equations 1 and 2? Is there anything identical? Great. Now, if you have two things that are identical, and you added them together, what if I add the h with the h? What would I get? But what if I do h take away h? So, what you'll do, you'll look at your two equations for elimination method. Notice elimination method's a bit different because you tend to have see how you've got the h and g on one side, the h and g on one side and the number on the other. With this method, I don't know that h equals this or that g equals that. You don't use substitution method for this. Often you'll see them lined up underneath each other, the h's, the g's and the numbers. It's with this method, when you see it set out like that, when there's no clear idea what h is or what g is, like in this question, for example, I could see that w is that. So then I was able to substitute w, right? But look in the second equation, you can't tell what w or y are because it's all mixed up together. In these, when you're using elimination, you can't tell what h is or what g is because they're together on the same side of the equation. You just know that h and g combined give you 2, or h plus 3g is -2. You don't know what either one is. So this is when you'll look for if either the h or g are the same, and they are. So when they're identical, if you do something take away itself, you end up with nothing. It's like 5 take away 5 is 0. A take away A is 0. 2x take away 2x is 0. Anything take away itself is 0. So the h's are identical, so we're going to subtract. Okay? So we're going to do equation 1 take away equation 2. Now you must label your equations. You go here, number 1, number 2. Then you write your instructions of what you're doing. I'm going to do equation 1 take away equation 2. So I have to look at each thing. I've got to do I have to look at the h's, the g's, and the numbers. So I'm subtracting. So what's h take away h? 0. What's 3g take away g? Good. Be careful with the next one. What's -2 take away 2? Look, -2 take away 2. It's -4. See how I've got the minus there? You've got to go like this. H minus h, 0. 3g minus g. Do you want me to write 3g minus g here? All right, is 2g. But this one I wrote so that you don't get confused. -2 take away 2. Got it? Now, that's -4. So therefore, g is, so this means 2 times g is -4. Opposite of times 2 is divide by 2. So g is -2. Now, I found out what g is. Now I have to work out what h is. You just put it into the equation that looks easier. Yeah, I'd go into equation 2. So we're now going to substitute g equals -2 into equation 2. Now, here we go. Now that happens to be h plus g is 2. So I'm going to replace the g with a -2. H plus -2 equals 2. What do I do with this h plus -2? What does it become? H minus 2 is 2. That's what I'm really saying. Because it was h plus g is 2. What is g? It's -2. H plus -2, which is just, when you see a plus and a minus next to each other, you write them as a minus. And so therefore h is 2 plus 2, which is 4. Okay, so your answer is g is -2, H is 4. Now I'll let you write that out. We've got two equations here. Does anything look the same? The minus k and the minus k. You might think you add them, but you don't add them. If they are identical, and they are identical in size and sign, you subtract. Now just watch what I'm going to do. One's if I've got -1 and -1. If you add them together, just the two numbers, -1 and -1. What is -1 plus -1? It's -2. -1 and another -1, or take away 1 is take away 2. But one's if I do, that's if I add them. One's if I subtract them. -1 take away -1. Yeah, if I decide I'm going to subtract, let's say I've got -1 and -1. I can either add them together or I can subtract them. Like, I'll do this differently. -1 plus -1. Girls, you've got the minus k and the minus k, and you've got two options. You're either going to add them together or you're going to subtract them. If I decide to add them, it would be -1 plus -1. That's -2. That does not eliminate. But if I had -1 take away -1, that becomes -1 plus 1, which is 0. So girls, if it's identical, something take away itself is 0. No matter whether you take, if it's a negative number, take away the same negative number, you will get 0. I've got this minus that, and they're the same. Of course you get 0. It works for the negative numbers as well. So the minus k's are absolutely identical. Anything take away itself is 0. So I'm going to do equation 1 minus 2. Let's go. I'm going to put the negative here, right? So look how I use my pen. I'm not just looking at it from afar and saying, and I'm going to write 2k or minus 2k. I actually physically go, 3j take away j is 2j. Watch this. -k take away -k. Can you see that? -k take away -k. Well, that's -k plus k. That's 0. And I've got 21 take away 7. 14. So j is 14 divided by 2, which is 7. And then we're going to substitute j is 7 into whatever looks easier. I think into 2 as well. Into 2. And we've got j minus k is 7. But what's j? It's 7. Minus k is 7. Girls, you can guess this one. It's not 1. It's 0. Why don't I put this minus k on the other side and this 7 here? So 7 minus 7 is k, because I picked this one up, minus 7. Minus k gets picked up, it's plus k. Well, it's 0 because 7 minus 0. We don't tend to get zeros much when we solve simultaneous equations. Equation 1, equation 2. I've got minus n and plus n. Just watch. If I've got -2 plus 2, what do you get? 0. If you add two things together that are opposite signs but same magnitude, you'll get 0. Look, -2 plus 2 is 0. That's if I add them. It's like 5 plus 5 minus 5, 0. So these we don't subtract, we add. Because if you add a negative and to its positive and they have the same magnitude, the same size, like -2 plus 2, you'll get 0. So we're going to add. It's equation 1 plus 2. So if two things are identical, you take them away from each other. If they're sort of identical but opposite sign, when you add two opposites, you always get 0. Now, when you add two opposites, you get 0. Okay? So when you add two opposites, you always get 0. That's why in this one you would add. Okay? So I'm going to add equations 1 and 2. I'm going to put a big plus sign here. So 5m plus 4m is 9m equals negative n plus n is negative n plus n is 0. And 0.5 plus 18.4 is 18.9. So now we divide by 9 and you should get 2.1. Now that we know what m is, I'd probably go into equation 2 because there's no negative n. I would substitute in equation 2 because you've got a minus n, and just try and keep away from the negatives. So 4m plus n is 18.4. I'm now going to substitute m is 2.1. 4 times 2.1 plus n is 18.4. 4 times 2.1 is 8.4 plus n is 18.4. All right, you can already see what it is. 18.9, sorry. No, it's 18.4. Okay, coming back. Once we worked out m is 2.1, we substitute that into equation 2, which is, this is equation 2 here. We replace the m with a 2.1. 4 times 2.1 is 8.4. And now to work out n, what do we do? 18.4 plus or take away? Minus 8.4. N is 10. So the solution is m is 2.1 and n is 10. Is there anything that looks the same or very similar? Not the 5a and the 3a, but I've got minus 2b plus 2b. They're both 2b's, and one of them's a minus and one of them's a plus. So you add them because they're exact opposites of each other. If you add together exact opposites, you get 0. So we're going to minus 2b and 2b are exact opposites of each other. Are exactly opposite each other. Are exact opposites. So we add. Okay? Sorry girls, that's a bit messy. So negative 2b and plus 2b, which is just 2b, are exact opposites. So if you add two things that are exact opposites, you get 0. So add to get 0. Remember, we're trying to eliminate. They're exact opposites. If you add together exact opposites, you will get 0. So we're adding equation 1 plus equation 2. So what do we get? So I'm adding 5a plus 3a is 8a. And what's 5 plus negative 1? 5 plus negative 1 is 4. It's like 5 minus 1 is 4. Now what do I do? A is what? Be careful. It's not 2. I'm moving the 8. That is A times 8. Opposite of timesing by 8 is dividing. A is a half. It's not 2 because 8 times 2 is 16, girls. Okay, or you could write that as 0.5 if you want. Now we're going to substitute A is a half into, I don't mind which one. I think you should substitute it into equation 2 because the B bit is positive. So I get 3a plus 2b is negative 1. That's what equation 2 is. Now I'm going to replace the a with a half. So 3 times a half plus 2b is negative 1. Now 3 times a half is 1.5. A half of 3 is 1.5. So 1.5 plus 2b is negative 1. What are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? Keep the 2b here. This is a plus 1.5. What do I do with it? Minus 1.5. And so 2b is negative 2.5. Girls, if you're not sure, you get your calculator out. minus negative 1, take away 1.5. No. B, negative 2.5 divided by 2, which is, B is negative 1.25 or negative 1.25. So therefore, if you want to write it as decimals, that's fine. A is a half. B is negative 1.25. Or you could have written them both as decimals. These two, anything the same? Well, the 4 t's are the same. And they're the same sign, which means that the 4 t's are identical. So anything taken away itself is 0. So anything or something take away itself equals 0. So something or anything take away itself is 0. Call this equation 1, call that equation 2. Therefore, we do equation 1 minus 2. I'm going to put a minus sign here. So let's go. 10r take away 3r. What do we get? 10r take away 3r, 7r. 4t minus 4t is 0. And negative 18, I'm going to write it out, take away positive 3 or just take away 3. There's no point putting take away plus 3. It's negative 18 take away this, take away positive 3, which is, I can write the plus if you want. Negative 18 take away positive 3. Remember, you never write two signs next to each other. It'll be negative 18. A minus plus becomes a minus when they're written next to each other. What does this equal? Negative 18 take away 3. Negative 21. Now what do I do? What's r? What do I divide or multiply by? So I go negative 21 divided by 7, which is negative 3. Substitute r equals negative 3 into, it doesn't matter, equation 1 or 2. Which one? Do you want 1 or 2? Into equation 2. So we get 3r, I'm just rewriting equation 2 out. That's what equation 2 is, 3r equals 4t plus 3. And I substitute r is negative 3 into that. So 3 times negative 3 is 4t plus 3. What do I do next? 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, is 4t plus 3. Now what do I do? Do not put the 4t on the left, please. The 4t is positive. Keep it there. Let's just take the 3 over. Minus 9. Inverse operation of plus 3 is take away 3. So minus 9 take away 3 is 4t. I need a bit more room. Because I'm picking up this and I'm taking it over. So therefore negative 12 is 4t. So what's t? How do you do this? Negative 12 divided by 4. So t is negative 3. Sorry, I've really squashed this up. One sec. We also get that t is negative 3. 6. Equation 1, equation 2. Look at what appears to be the same. The 5 y's are the same size, but they're different signs. In other words, they're exact opposites of each other. When two things are exact opposites of each other, you add them. Add exact opposites to get 0. So we're going to add the exact opposites, and that will give you 0. So let's go. Equation 1 plus 2. So 3x plus 2x is 5x. I know that negative 5y plus 5y is 0. 46 plus 14 is 60. I now divide by 5, and I get that x is 12. And then I can just substitute x equals 12. I think I'll go into equation 2. And I get 2x plus 5y is 14. 2 times 12 plus 5y is 14. 2 times 12 is 24 plus 5y is 14. And we've got 5y is 14 take away 24, which is negative 10. And therefore y is negative 10 divided by 5, which is negative 2. Question from 2015. Ariana's parents have given her an interest-free loan of $4,800 to buy a car. She will pay them back by paying X dollars immediately. So she pays the X straight up, but then she'll pay Y dollars every month until she has repaid the loan in full. Now, so she's paying X dollars up front and then Y dollars each month. And it says after 18 months, so when she's paid X plus 18 lots of Y, she's paid back $1,510 from the loan. But after 36 months, so when she's paid back X plus 36 lots of Y, she's paid back $2,770 from the loan. So, solve these equations simultaneously. That bit is the easy bit. The hard bit is part 2. So, let's quickly solve the simultaneous equations. Equation 1 and equation 2. Be careful, girls. See how all the numbers in equation 2 are bigger than those in equation 1? It's always better to do big numbers, take away small numbers. Are you going to add or subtract these equations? Subtract. So we're going to subtract the equations, but I would not do equation 1 minus 2. I'd do equation 2 minus 1 because 36 take away 18 is 18 and 2,770 take away 1,510 is positive as well. So equation 2 take away equation 1. So 36y take away 18y is 18y. 2,770 minus 1,510 is 1,260. So therefore now dividing by 18, what do we get? I'm going to substitute y equals 70. I'm just going to put it into equation 1. And I get x plus 18 times 70 is 1,510. X plus, what do you get? What's 18 times 70? 1,260 is 1,510, and then we subtract the 1,260 and we get $250, I'm thinking. Okay, now, so solving these equations simultaneously, we get that x equals 70 and y equals 250. Sorry, no, the other way around. That y equals 70 and that x equals 250. So y equals 70, x equals 250. Now, for part 2 of the question, we need to put this all into context. So let's read the question again. It says that Ariana's parents have given her an interest-free loan of $4,800 to buy a car. So she's trying to pay off $4,800. She will pay them back by paying X dollars immediately. So we know that X is $250. So this is what she does. She pays back $250 immediately. Now I'm just going to look at this first equation just to show you what this is all about. So she pays that $250 immediately, and then it says, and then she pays back Y dollars every month. Now we know that when we solved it, X was 250, Y is 70. Then she pays back Y dollars every month until she's repaid the loan in full. But what they've given you here in the next next sentence is a snapshot, and it says that after 18 months or 1.5 years, Ariana has paid back $1,510. So we can see here, if I look at this first equation, equation 1, and this is equation 2, and if I substitute these values of x is 250 and y is 70 into equation 1, you'll see that so x is 250 plus 18 times y is 70. If you do that on your calculator, 250 plus 18 times 70, if you do that all in one step on your calculator, you get $1,510. So this first equation is showing you that if she makes a deposit of 250, because now you know what X and Y is, and she pays back $70 a month, because Y is 70 for 18 months, she will have paid off $1,510 after 18 months. And then the second equation gives you a snapshot of what she's done after 36 months. So it says after 36 months she's paid back $2,770. So for equation 2, we know X is 250 because we worked that out, plus 36 repayments of $70. So I'm just substituting the X and the Y here so that you can see that 250 plus 36 times 70, if you do that on your calculator, you get $2,770. So the idea is that eventually she's going to pay back everything that she owes her parents, which is $4,800. And to do that, it will be 250 plus, I'm just going to put M for months, times 70. So 250 plus M lots of 70 is eventually going to give her is going to mean that she's paid back $4,800. Now, obviously, M has to be bigger than 36, all right? So that's what's going to happen. She'll pay the 250 off initially, plus M months of $70 will give $4,800. Now I need to solve that. So I've got 250 plus 70M equals $4,800. 250 plus 70M equals 4,800. So 70M is 4,800, take away 250. So 70M is 4,550. So to work out M, it will be M is 4,550 divided by 70, which is, so M is 65. So that means how many months will it take to repay the loan in full? It will be 65 months. Now let me check my answer. So we know that we've got a $250 upfront deposit plus 65 months times 70. So just getting your calculator out and working that out gives us $4,800, which means that she's paid the loan off in full because she's borrowed $4,800 to buy the car. So therefore the answer is, so the number of months is 65. Okay.